Is there any specific area of the packaging that you normally really focus on?
So that's the first thing, we have to get the sense of the look.
Do you have any framework for blending UGC or influencer content to the funnel?
So really try to understand where also your traffic comes from.
From the UK, who want to launch product on Amazon Poland, what will be your suggestion or what will be your advice?
I think if you're in Poland and you want to start in Amazon and you want to just experiment, great.
What will be your go-to softwares for Amazon in terms of keyword research or in terms of A/B testing?
Ecom Squeezed podcast.
Welcome back to another episode of Ecom Squeezed. I am your host Sebastian, founder of Retail-Outsource, and today we got a real treat. Our guest today is Dorian Gorski, who has been behind some of the fastest growing D2C brands you have probably seen on your feed. He's the founder of Unit 6, Studio and Kepler, a pro at cracking a meta ad console, scaling brands to 6 to 7 figures, and helping brands navigate the wild world of performance marketing. Welcome to the show, Dorian.
Hi, Sebastian. Thank you for having me. And it's always really bizarre when someone describes your bio. It feels like, sometimes you have what you call this syndrome. What's it called? The syndrome of I can't remember what it is. When someone describes your bio, it just feels bizarre. It feels unreal. So thank you.
No worries. That means you have done a lot of stuff, right? So I've been following you on LinkedIn as well. I've seen all your feeds. So, the work that you have done is fantastic. And to start with, could you just give us a background on, how do you started the studio and, what are the expert areas that you mainly focus on at the moment?
Got it. So my beginnings are quite funny. I started as a photographer in London. I used to work with a lot of luxury brands, and I had a little studio in East London. And one day, someone knocked on my door with silicon spatulas in 2013 and asked me to take some pictures for Amazon listing. And I was like, what is this? And we took some pics because I was also doing a lot of product photography. I was really into it, so I was trying things. That was a pretty easy project, so I was like, let's do it. 2 weeks later, this person came back again. 2 weeks later, this person again came back with friends, and that's how it started. Some of these people that I've worked that came in as my first clients in 2013, a few days later turned out to be one of the biggest 8 to 9 figure sellers in the industry. So they took me on a ride with them. Everyone was figuring stuff out back then. It was funny. We were doing things like photoshopping bestseller batch onto the main image, because back then we didn't have any AI algorithms. So every single image was checked manually by the Amazon team. So you could get away with a lot more back then. But that's how I started, really. And we grew our team slowly and slowly. We moved then with my wife to Warsaw, Poland. We established the studio here, which you can see a part of. And we scaled the team to around 30 something people.
Wow.
And since then we have been working mostly with 7 to 8 figure brands all over the world. And we have clients in the States, in Europe, in China, and I think till 2022 we are really focusing on production. So we would shoot a lot of videos, photography, obviously the design aspect also. But we have shifted our focus slightly in the past couple of years to focus more on data-driven approach and really digging into conversion increase in workflows, click-through increase in workflows. So for the past 2 years, we've just been experimenting a lot. As you know, there's a lot of new technology. We also launched a startup called Kepler, where we experiment with a lot of this technology. So we're trying to be at the forefront and seeing how the creative and Amazon business evolves. So that's kind of what we're doing these days.
That's great. And you have been working with a lot of startup brands and some bigger brands, right? So let's take an example of the startup brand. And when they come in, they will have limited budget. Let's say £100 or something. And when you put forward the suggestion, okay, it's going to cost you like 1,000 or 2,000 or 5,000 for the whole task, their mindset will not be shifted or to get accept for that bigger figure, right? So how do you put that in their mind, saying, okay, you have to pay money in order to get the results? So how do you change that? How do you change their mindset?
Truth be told, I am very honest and upfront with sellers and stakeholders that launch the brand. They are at the startup phase. So if someone comes to me and says, we have a limited budget, the launch costed us so much, and sometimes the creatives are the last step in the entire process. So at the end of it, they might not have a lot of left. So I'm always really upfront, and I would say, okay, well, what can we figure out within this budget? Because in terms of creative assets, there's so many ways you can do it, right? There's so many ways. You can have beautiful lifestyle photography and video with beautiful models, top designers working on your assets. But you have to also ask yourself, is this really what I need to get off the ground? So a lot of the times I would suggest to such sellers to maybe just, invest in very simple photography and very simple design. I would say put most of your budget away for working and testing really good main image. And then the rest in terms of the listing, just create something very simple. A lot of times I would suggest just take really good images with your phone, really good, and just send it to a good Fiverr designer. And let's just get this off the ground. So I wouldn't even take their money. I would just help them to navigate and make sure that the budget, the limited budget they have is well spent. And then I would say, okay, when this takes off and you are actually building a momentum and building the revenue, then we can come back and you can come back to us and we can revise your listing and we can improve it. But truth be told, if you don't have the budget, don't stress out. Just get this off the ground and focus on the right things, the right levers, which is, invest in good main image, good photography, could be very simple, and just get this off the ground.
Yeah, that's a great answer, Dorian. And my next question will be, scaling brands is kind of part science and part psychology, right? What have you learned about founder psychology when it comes to scaling, for example, or scaling paid ads?
So we do a lot of this work these days where brands come to us and they're at the certain stage and they hit a ceiling. And how do we take it to the next level? And I see a pattern across most of those stakeholders, which is whenever they launch a new product, whenever they work on a new content or a new packaging or a new main image, it's always in a rush. It's always in a rush, and it's always just to get things off the ground. They're still in the startup mode, which is fine at the beginning. So these are two separate things. The startup mode, where you just want to get off the ground and just get going, is different to the scale mode. So in the scale mode, we have to take two steps back. So with a lot of the brands that we work with at the moment, and the goal is to scale them, is to get them through that ceiling from, let's say, from 10 million to 20 million, is really thinking in terms of where do we stand in terms of looking at the entire category and thinking in big terms, like, can we actually dominate the whole supplement category? How can we do that? Let's look at the biggest brands and really be open-minded to the fact that you can do it. And the way to do it is usually by doing a lot of experimentation, a lot of testing, and really trying to understand your customer base, really speaking to your customers. Because at the end of the day, your business is actually really simple. It's all about people. So the more you engage with your customer base, the more you research you do in terms of the pains and needs and the purchase motivations and the purchase barriers, the more you start coming up with hypotheses of like, what did we miss in the last launch? What did we miss in our branding? And then slowly translating this into something that's a little bit more innovative. In a way, you want to fit into the category and you want to stand out. And some of those strategies could include, I'll give you a good example. So a lot of times we talk about main image optimization. Imagine a scenario that's very common where someone comes to you, and you probably know this, Sebastian, someone comes to you with the main image and they ask you how can we optimize it? The product has been launched, how can we optimize it? But in the mindset, in the scale mindset, actually we actually create the main image before the product has been launched. So a lot of times we'd actually design the product, design the packaging, test it, and then pull a trigger on the order. Like, have we done enough work for this product to stand out, to be visible on the search page, for the packaging with the right keywords, with the right colors. And then we launch the product. So we've done most of the work already before the product has been launched. Whereas if you launch the product and you just, got your stuff from a Fiverr, and you got a product that looks like everyone else's, there's only so much you can do with this. And some of the brands that we work with, like Ototo, which creates this beautiful and funny products and beautiful packaging. But what they've done is they have embedded the product development and the main image and testing into the first phase. So before they launch the product, they built enough confidence knowing that, okay, this will be successful, this will stand out, it's different than everyone else's. People will love this because they've told us already. And that's what that's how you build scale. You take 2 steps back and you think through every single step. Whereas, in the startup mode, you just want to get things out and then I'll optimize later. So 2 different modes. And that's what scale is about, is taking those 2 steps back.
Great. Dorian, you mentioned about packaging, right? In terms of packaging, do you run any A/B testing or stuff like that? And a follow-up question also, is there any specific area of the packaging that you normally really focus on? Is that the font size or the color combination or any other thing that comes to your mind?
Yeah, so we do a lot of work and a lot of testing. And I think so the first thing is to understand your category. Imagine going to the shop and you go into an aisle with cleaning products. If you zoom out and you squint your eyes, they kind of feel the same, right? And then let's say you move to a cereal packaging. Again, squint your eyes, look at them, you get the feeling, right? And you move to chocolates, wine, right? So the first thing is to understand what gets people, what's familiar, what feels familiar. So when they land on the search page, if the product is also in the store, will they be able to recognize that this is actually the product that you're looking for? So let's say a beauty product, right? There's certain elements of, could be like a gold leaf, could be like a white, bright, airy packaging. So that's the first thing. Like, we have to get the sense of the look. Then the second thing is, how can we put a 20% spin on it? Okay. So when someone's looking at all the stuff and, understand, like, okay, I know this is it, but now which one do I pick in particular? I know I'm at the shelf level. Okay. And your product is there. And now how do I pick this one? So then the next step is to make something 20% better or different than everyone else. And then third, the process is to clearly communicate, the product benefits through visually on the packaging. And this could be done in 2 ways, like visually without keywords. So certain things you can create a beautiful, let's say, sort of like a motion type of graphic. If, for example, if it's a toothbrush, right? And you can, in terms of if it's an organic product, you can build some sort of organic elements into it. And then the second layer on top of it is the keywords and the copy. So you kind of slowly. So you think of it like, as I said, you go into the shop, and you kind of slowly, you want to move this, you want to build this interaction when they slowly move into your product and find it more and more attractive. And that's also what you do with testing. In terms of testing, first you want to build a baseline test, right? So you want to look at your whole category, zoom out and run a test and say, which of these get the most clicks? So it could be a search simulation on Product Opinion or Pick4 and Teleview. And get an idea of why do people are attracted to these elements. Then you dive deeper and deeper and you choose the top 3. And then based on that, all the comment, you start hypothesis, and then you slowly plug in your new your new main images, and you test and see, are we able to steal that attention? Are we able to surpass that attention? And that's how you build it, layer upon layer, step by step, to get people interested in the main image or packaging.
That's some great advice over there, just to stand out, right? So some great tips over there, Dorian, that you mentioned. And I want to move into, cost, customer acquisition cost. So let's assume that a brand comes to you and say, okay, look, my customer acquisitions are rising and we don't know the exact root cause. maybe it's creative or something else deeper, right? So in that case, how do you check the funnel basically?
That's a good point. There's a lot of data involved in that, right? So you really have to understand the big picture, starting from ROAS, things like sessions, conversions, keywords ranking, looking at are we actually ranking for the right keywords? If there's a spillage somewhere. So trying to understand the big picture and then focusing. It's like the first I would say the first thing is to understand whether we're making a mistake somewhere. Okay. And if there's mistake, then remove it from the picture. And then look at the data again and say, okay, all right, everything else seems all right. Like we spent everything else, what we do in terms of keyword ranking, in terms of ads, everything is okay. So what is the issue? And you're trying to solve it step by step, or looking like SQP performance, whether we're missing something in terms of content. So for example, if you're working in a beauty, I'll give you an example. For example, we work on a brand recently that's selling, and we realized that for certain keywords we weren't ranking. So there was a keyword, neck cream, or anti-aging keywords that we weren't ranking, and we realized that the reason for the fact that we weren't ranking for these keywords and the conversions were low for this keyword because we actually weren't communicating this in any way through content, through title, through bullets. So that's an exercise, right? SQP is I would say SQP is a great place. SQP Analyzer in Helium 10, I love that tool. It gives me a good idea of looking at the data through a period of time, and looking at the competition, listing analyzer, all of this stuff is great at Helium 10 to give you a big picture and look at the trends. So that's how I would do it.
You mentioned about search query performance report, right? And how do you find, do you cross-check each and every keyword and, make sure that it's indexed, or do you have any keyword heat map that you put 50 relevant keyword, you paste it there and it tracks the ranking? And how do you manage the tracking side?
So the first thing, I want to make sure that I'm looking at the right keywords, and it's usually I'm not the keyword guy, truth be told. Okay. So I usually work with the team on the client side and just make sure that, okay, are these the right keywords? So the next thing I would probably do is look at specific keywords and just see, are we converting and are we getting the clicks above the median of the market share or below it? And that's the first indication for me. Okay, is there an opportunity there? So if we're above it, then what else can we do? But if we're below it, here's a hypothesis: we're doing something wrong here. So that would be my first step, and kind of that's the main indication for me usually, is just looking at what the market share is, and are we below it or above it. So, and that's how I kind of then we use that data then to communicate with the copywriters, with the design team, that some of these elements we're not converting for some of these keywords, and the issue could be in the content.
You mentioned some great points, benchmarking the keyword side, the conversion with the category. So you said you're not a keyword guy, but it seems you are. Great. And do you have any framework? Let's move on to the UGC side, the video side. Mm-hmm. Do you have any framework for blending UGC or influencer content to the funnel? Do you place them anywhere in the funnel?
Yeah, UGC is great. It has pros and cons. I think if it's done well, it really works. The problem is I feel more and more, and that's my personal opinion, is I feel more and more customers are losing trust in terms of UGC, especially in the recent months where we see a lot of UGC being created with AI. So I'm not sure how this is going to pan out in the next couple of years, but I think this is an interesting space to look at. So in terms of plugging in UGC into Amazon, I see two ways to do it. I love when it's somehow in the A+, and and when you also customers can add their videos on the listing, and it feels like it's very organic. It feels like it's very natural. That's where I love seeing it. And below the fold, when you have the reviews, when you have the customer videos, the more the better. So pay attention who's adding these videos, see if there's any workflows there where we can encourage people to add more of those videos. This is a great place. The other place where I love seeing UGC are storefronts. And when people are trying to understand a little bit more about the brand, they browse the products. it definitely does help. On the listing side, we've done plenty of tests, and it really depends on the brand and the customer base, right? If you're selling certain products for all the demographic, is UGC important? But so really try to understand where also your traffic comes from. So if your traffic comes from a lot of the TikTok ads or external sources, when you have those, when you can mirror that type of content in your listing, it builds that trust a little bit more. So just help you, so just ask yourself whether this is something that we are forcing or if this is something that's natural. If it's natural and you do this and you have those external marketing and you have those ads and you do a lot of that and you have this on the listing, then it feels very natural. I think it doesn't work when it feels forced, when we're trying to pretend that these are UGC, these are paid, and I think people can pick up that very quickly. So that would be my tip in terms of UGC.
Yeah, you mentioned some great points, Dorian. Normally, when I purchase something on Amazon, I don't look into the original image. I scroll down and see the customer's image. It will always show you the real product, not that 3D rendered, more like fake stuff. And I want to ask you about the AI. A lot of things happening on the AI side, right? With the recent ChatGPT and other AIs out there start making 3D render. It looks pretty nice, right? I want to ask the question, do you see creative production becoming like fully automated, or still a human have a play on that creative side?
It's in a very exciting space. It was a bit scary at the beginning, but we are plowing through and really experimented with AI, and we've built our own software also. So we're really trying to understand the uses of it, the pros and cons. So the bottom line is we love it. And to answer your question, at the moment, it's becoming a better and better tool. Every single month we see, new releases, new models. So it's becoming really an amazing tool. I think we're at this. Initially, it wasn't something that could be usable in terms of content. Now we are finally at the stage where you can actually create stuff that's usable. And it's easy for everyone. With a single prompt, you can create images and you can use them. So the way I see it is, I think, and have to be honest, I think we will be approaching a moment where some of the creative agencies will slowly start scaling down their production. That's one thing that we also do. I have a big production studio at the back of me. We used to have a shoot here every single day, and now we have maybe 1-2 a week because we don't have to do them anymore. If we work with supplement brands, or if we work with certain products that are easy to replicate with AI, what's the point of spending thousands of dollars on the production and models where you can do it within an hour, just with a simple subscription and someone that understands prompting? So truth be told, it's a very exciting space because, one, it's easier, it's faster, and it's cheaper. So these benefits are passed on to sellers because content will become cheaper and it will be created faster. The only issues I still see, and the stuff that we still have to produce, it's not always easy to replicate the product or create good content with AI for certain products, right? If we're looking at, for example, bed sheets or any type of textile or any type of products that have very specific structure and elements, or specific use cases, like a paddleboard or something. Some of these things we're still away, I think maybe months away from being able to work with some of those products. And the other thing is video, right? And going back to our previous question in terms of UGC, I think because AI content is getting so good and it's becoming this perfect piece of polished content. So every single brand that wasn't able to have beautiful content at low cost will now be able to do that. So your person that you mentioned at the beginning of our conversation that has $100, now for $100, they can have as good listing as someone that paid $5,000. So we got very soon, probably by the end of this year, we're gonna see everyone just having beautiful content, beautiful images, and that's a good thing. but it's going to, in my opinion, it's going to shift a little bit the perception of the consumer. Because if everything is perfect, we'll be looking for a little bit more reliable, so something's a little bit more relatable. And that's where UGCs, that's where customer images, videos, reviews, anything that feels a little bit more natural, everything that feels a little bit organic will be of a higher value than previously. Our focus will shift slightly. I think the consumer will shift slightly. So it's an interesting space to watch. You just have to embrace it and be on top of it and just explore it.
True, very true. With changes so fast, right? It's amazing. And you're based currently in Poland, right? We have Amazon Poland over there, right?
Yeah.
So for sellers, for example, from the UK, who want to launch product on Amazon Poland, what will be your suggestion or what will be your advice?
Don't do it. I'm joking.
It's a simple answer. Don't do it.
Poland is an interesting space in terms of Amazon. We have this platform called Allegro here in Poland, which we had since I was a kid. I remember, I was selling stuff on Allegro myself when I was a kid, and it's been so embedded into the culture, into the e-com space here in Poland. I'm thinking, I see Amazon really struggling in Poland. I very rarely order Amazon simply because we still don't have enough warehouses in Poland. Next day delivery still doesn't exist here. The infrastructure here in Poland is not as capable as, for example, UK and especially not US. So I think it's still a space to watch, and I'm eager to see if Amazon will do anything about it, and if they'll be a little bit more aggressive in terms of growth in Poland, because we are one of the biggest, fastest growing economies in Europe. So there is a lot of possibility here, but I think they're just not paying enough attention to it. Maybe they will initially, but I think it's a small space. I think if you're in Poland and you want to start in Amazon and you want to just experiment, great. But if for sellers that are looking for big gains, I think personally it will be probably like a bit of a waste time to focus on this market at this stage.
Yeah, great. And Mitch, I was looking into the fulfillment cost for different countries within European Union, and Poland comes on the top, then followed by Belgium in terms of FBA cost.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of cost, it's quite cheap, Poland. Maybe there's an option to store the goods in Poland and then dispatch it to, for example, to Germany or other European marketplaces. That's something I think may be an option in the future. And my last question will be, what will be your go-to softwares for Amazon in terms of keyword research or in terms of A/B testing? What's your best pick? Could you just list some of your softwares that you use?
Okay, cool. So there are softwares for every stage of the project that we work on. So some of my favorites are Helium 10. I love the SQP analyzer and just using it as in the browser mode. Helium 10 is probably like the first thing. Second would be ChatGPT. I love deep research. So if you haven't tried it, try deep research, and it's great at scraping the internet. It will scrape forums. It will actually scrape Amazon as well. It will scrape reviews, and it will give you a really in-depth analysis of the market, the customer, the demographics. So that's what we also use. In terms of design, we use Figma for scalability. It's very easy to use and really great to work collaboratively, collaboratively with your team and with the brands. So Figma for design. And then in terms of testing, we love product opinion, search simulations, opinion videos. We use that platform a lot every single day for testing. What other softwares? And I think just your old good spreadsheets.
course.
And Notion. Oh, for we'll also use Notion for tracking projects and building SOPs, and then Slack for communication.
Yeah, means you have some fantastic list. Helium 10 we also use, means we've been using Helium 10 for years, maybe 7 or 8 years now. It's always the best that we, that's the first go-to software that we use for keyword research. Then maybe after that data dive, that will be then a Smart Scout. But always Helium 10 comes on the top in terms of keyword research. The output is really great. And you mentioned about Notion also, right? I was looking into Notion, but I don't know. It looks quite complicated. You have to put quotes and stuff like that. What's your experience on that one, the Notion side?
I use many project management tools from Monday to Asana to ClickUp. The reason I like Notion, it has pros and cons. Pros is a little bit more complex. It's also more expensive. So that'll be the cons. The pros of Notion that I like is you can customize it more. I use it as a project management tool. I use it as an SOP builder. I use it as my personal assistant, as my notebook, note-taking. It stores my passwords. It stores, so you can really customize Notion to be anything you want. It's a great tool that is a substitute for me for multiple other subscriptions. So it keeps a lot of the stuff in one place. But I agree with you. It took me a long time, and I've used it on and off for a few years. I subscribed, unsubscribed, and only recently I gave it a proper try, and I've been using it for a good year now.
It's nice to hear. Dorian, this was like pure gold, but the advice that you put forward. And for the viewers who want to scale their brands or even just want to pick your brain, where's the best place to connect or to find about you?
I'm on LinkedIn, Dorian Gorski, so make sure to connect and just say hi. And then if you want to get in touch with me, you can just email me at dorian@kepler.com.
Great. So I will put all the links in the show notes. Please do check it out. And thanks again, Dorian, for your time.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Sebastian.
it.
Thank you.
Thank you.